For years, the United Kingdom has been gripped by a knife crime epidemic, a terrifying reality that has seen violence spill from the shadows of back alleys into the very places meant to be safe havens for children. The public has become all too familiar with headlines of young lives lost, each story a fresh wave of grief and outrage. But in February of 2025, a new story would emerge, one that would shock the nation to its core due to the young age of those involved. This is a story of a 15-year-old boy, Mohammed Umar Khan, who walked into his new school and stabbed a fellow student to death in a crowded corridor. Mohammed Umar Khan was born and raised in Sheffield, South Yorkshire, and his life had already begun to spiral long before he committed one of the most shocking crimes in recent years. Growing up, Khan struggled with severe behavioural problems that reportedly brought him into the attention of teachers, social workers, and eventually the police. He had a difficult home life and often acted out aggressively, both in and outside of school. Those who knew him described him as angry, volatile, and unpredictable, a teenager fascinated by violence, and in particular by knives. He was known to show off blades to classmates and post photos of them online. This growing obsession became a worrying part of his identity, something that concerned teachers and those who tried to intervene. Khan's violent temper and refusal to follow rules eventually got him expelled from his first school. His behaviour had become too much to handle. He frequently got into fights, disrespected staff, and intimidated other students. After several warnings and failed interventions, the school made the decision to permanently remove him. As a result, Khan was transferred to another school, All Saints Catholic High School in Sheffield, in an attempt to give him a fresh start. But rather than changing his ways, he carried the same anger and obsession with him. It was at his new school that he met 15-year-old Harvey Willgoose. Harvey Willgoose was described as a kind and quiet student, popular with his peers and focused on his studies. He and Khan were not close friends, but they knew each other through mutual classmates. At first, there was no major conflict between them, but tension would soon begin to build. Khan was quick to take offense and often clashed with people over trivial matters. According to reports, the relationship between the two deteriorated in the weeks before the attack. Khan had become convinced that Harvey had disrespected him, though there was no evidence of any serious dispute. On the morning of the 3rd of February 2025, Khan arrived at All Saints High School armed with a large knife hidden in his clothing. This wasn't anything new for him, as evidence indicated that he had carried knives and even an axe to school in the past. During a lunch break period, Khan confronted Harvey in a corridor. Witnesses says that the argument escalated quickly. Khan pulled out a knife and, in a sudden burst of rage, stabbed Harvey twice in the chest, piercing his heart. The attack lasted only seconds, but unfortunately, the injury proved fatal. Teachers and staff rushed to help, and emergency services were called immediately. But despite efforts, Harvey Willgoose tragically passed away at the scene. The school was placed into a lockdown as horrified students watched the aftermath unfold. It was reported that after the attack, Khan told the head teacher at the scene, "I'm not right in the head. My mum doesn't look after me right. I just can't control it." Khan then fled the scene, but was arrested shortly after by armed police officers. He showed no remorse and reportedly acted with chilling calmness during his arrest and the interviews that followed. Officers found the knife he had used, which was stained with blood. When questioned, Khan initially denied any intention to kill, but evidence, including his social media posts and previous threats, showed that he had a fascination with knives and violence. This led prosecutors to argue that the killing was deliberate and premeditated. The trial took place at Sheffield Crown Court, where Khan was charged with murder. Throughout the proceedings, disturbing details emerged about his background and mindset. The court heard about his long-standing behavioural problems, his previous expulsion, and his fixation with weapons. Psychological reports painted a picture of a deeply disturbed young man with violent tendencies and a lack of empathy. The prosecution argued that Khan had brought the knife to school that day with the intention of using it, and that his attack on Harvey was cold and calculated. The jury ultimately found him guilty of murder. In October 2025, Khan was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 16 years before he can be considered for parole. The judge described the killing as a senseless and brutal act that robbed the young man of his future and devastated an entire community. During sentencing, the court heard emotional statements from Harvey's family, who spoke of their heartbreak and the lasting pain of losing their son. Khan meanwhile showed little reaction as the sentence was read out, a final chilling reflection of his detached and remorseless nature. The case has left the Sheffield community shaken and has reignited the debates about knife crime among young people in the UK. Teachers, parents and local leaders have called for stronger measures to identify and support troubled youths before their behaviour escalates to tragedy. For Harvey Willgoose's family, the sentence can never undo their loss. A promising life cut short by the violent obsession of a classmate who refused to change. Since Harvey's death, his family have launched a youth club and an anti-knife crime campaign in his memory. His sister Sophie says that the pain will remain with us for the rest of our lives. She said that Khan didn't just end Harvey's life, he ended ours too. So this was a really disturbing case. It's crazy how someone so young could do something like this to another person. But unfortunately, that seems to be the world that we find ourselves living in today. I do believe that this death could have been avoided, since there were so many signs that this Mohammed character was going down a very dark path. First of all, he assaulted a kid at his previous school, and he was caught coming into school with not only knives, but an axe. He should have been expelled from school and arrested there and then. There should have been an investigation, his parents should have been involved, as well as therapists to look into why he was doing this. He should have then been monitored. I did like the fact that the judge decided to publicly name the killer, because there have been other occasions where judges wanted the killer to be anonymous because of the young age, but this judge did the right thing in that regard. However, I did not like the sentencing. When I heard a life sentence was given, I thought that was good, but then when I heard that he would be eligible for parole after just 16 years, I was disappointed. I was hoping for a minimum of 25 years before he could be eligible for parole. In general, I think that here in the UK that sentences seem to be just way too lenient. They need to be more strict and give lengthier sentences, especially when it comes to violent crimes such as this one. But rest in peace to Harvey Willgoose. He seemed like a good kid who did not deserve what happened to him. I can't even imagine what his family are going through right now. And that's about it for this video. Please like and subscribe for more twisted tales, and I'll see you next time.